they're ready. Let me see how I said, right, okay. All right, so officially, I'm going to welcome everyone again. My name is Pastor Francis. I'm the new appointed Family Life and Stewardship Director. And it's good to have my wife Delavan with me as well this morning. Just a little background for ourselves. Prior to coming to ministry, myself and Delavan have very much so been involved in family ministries. Over the years, we ran things in our local church. We was involved with marriage enrichment weekends, originally with Karen and Bernie Holford, and then we did something with Pastor Sweeney. And we was part of the NEC advisory team. We were also fully trained, fully certified family life educators. So we have had the training to resource use as leaders, and to also come and do some training in your churches. So we do have a lot of experience in this area. And I think the fact that we have actually been where you were at the very beginning when we started out, it helps us to understand your situation. And I know sometimes it can be daunting, but I want to let you know that God is able to equip you. And the very fact God has called you into this ministry, I would like to say now, first and foremost, you need to first depend on Him and commit everything to Him, and God will provide the people and the resources to help you accomplish this great task. And I want to also encourage you to let you know it's a wonderful work that you're about to embark on at this moment in time. I'd like to just check with you, because we have now 22 of you. Could you indicate on your icons how many of you have done family ministries before? If you go onto your icon and just reaction bar and just raise your hand to let me know you've done it before. I can see, let me try and see if we can get the view. Maybe Delavan can help me.
Here. Yeah, I can see.
Have we got quite a few there?
There's one finished indicating, so that's okay. So we've got I think from the looking at it, the majority haven't then.
Okay.
So there's, what was it, about 5 or 6, I think I counted.
Okay, so 5 or 6 we have counted have done it before. So I guess we were going to take it that the rest of you, majority of you, are quite new then to the role. Okay, so that helps us to understand the dynamics of our group. And what I would say to those of you who are familiar with it, it would be good of you if you can help input as we go along as well, because you can also share. We're going to give you hopefully some time to have a breakout rooms that we may do that later on, to actually share and begin. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just share our PowerPoint with you. Can everyone see that okay?
Not yet.
Is that coming through okay? Can you see that? No?
Oh, no.
No, I realize it doesn't
No.
seem to be. Let me see what's
that's
happening there. Okay, just one sec.
Yeah, it's coming through now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's come through now. Can you see that okay? Effective Family Ministries.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone can see that. Okay.
I'm glad we checked.
I'm glad we checked. It's normally a
wouldn't have
bad.
been much use with bowing on and then you're not able to see anything. Now the next thing.
Right, we're going to.
It's getting it. Okay, there seems to be a bit of an. We'll have to go in again. Sorry, there seems to be a bit of a delay here.
We seem to have a little issue with the PowerPoint, which is not a good start, but it does happen sometimes. So let's see if we can do something to rectify that. Just a sec.
Just bear with us.
Okay, let's try again. what do they say always? Third time it normally works, doesn't it? So
That's come through. on
right.
here.
For some reason,
Something.
no. Okay, so we want to do a little
just come in.
overview.
Okay, so the
What-
first thing we're going to be looking at this is what is family ministries? Yes, what is a family? What is family ministries? How you get started? How to use the plan book? The family ministries plans for the North England Conference for this year. Hopefully there'll be a sharing time. And we have got, I just saw something in the chat, we do have resources we're going to be sharing with you. We'll have to be sending those out. And they're going to have a question and answer session. And then we're going to be ending with a prayer slot at the end.
So that's basically the
Yeah.
okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is what is a family? What is a family? You know, it tells us here that a typical family normally consists of a mom, dad, 2 children, and this family, it only represents only a small minority of families. So in your understanding, I don't know if anybody wants to share at this moment, list some of the categories of families you can think about. Do you want to
You can just shout them out.
just shout anything out you feel you would like to share? Do you feel that, or do you feel that's adequate description?
Single parent.
Single parents. Oh, I like that one. Good. Any other?
Blended family.
Blended, yeah.
Blended.
Keep them coming. Just have a few more. Just a couple more people can share.
Extended family.
We've got single.
Single, blended. Yeah.
Blended
Mother and son, father and son, mother and daughter, father and daughter.
Right, brilliant.
That's what other of the brethren has said, really. It's a blended mix, defined by the information you've just given there. It's stereotypical, but it's not defined by that.
That's right.
That's right, brother. And as you said here, and all of them, I mean, there's probably even more here. We've the nuclear family, same-sex family, divorce with dependents, widowed, separated, empty nest syndrome, fostering, disabilities, bicultural, boomerang kids. That's children who may have left home, got their own place, found the expenses too much, and then come back to home. I know some parents aren't too happy about that one, but that does happen. So there's all different types of families.
So now we're just going to have a look at what exactly is family ministries. It says here that family ministries focuses on people, and we just looked at all the different sort of families we've got there, and people in relationships, and it is concerned with the needs of married couples, parents and children, the family needs of singles, widowed, divorced, and all members of the wider family circle as they pass through life's predictable stages and contend with unexpected changes in their lives. And as you can see from that, it's kind of like a large area there, but it's just basically encouraging people and supporting people as they pass through. You know, we're talking about, you know, childhood stages, you know, adolescence, the getting married, you know, starting your family. We're talking about, you know, having to deal with the loss of your spouse, you know, the emptiness. So we're looking at all of these different stages and supplying people with, you know, the resources that they need to cope.
And this one is looking at the characteristics of family ministry. And here we look a little bit about the needs of the family, And as Delabon said, families go through stages, from young children growing up to juniors to teens, all the various stages they go through. Part of the ministry is to not judge anybody, but offer restoration to those suffering from brokenness. Sometimes people have difficult situations. It could be the pain of divorce. It could be family trouble. It could be the breaking up of parents. All different things can happen in our lives. And as a department, we need to be there to minister to those needs. It's also about education, enrichment, and counseling. Now, in the NEC, I will be upfront with you now. I need to take some time to look at our counseling service. At the moment, it's more of an admin support service. We do have a number, but unfortunately, that is mainly to assess people and then assign them to volunteer counselors. And because of the budget restraints, it's not the full service I'd like to see. I'd like to see something where we can have a listening line that people could ring maybe once or twice a week at certain times. And it's something we're going to have to work on. So you're going to have to pray with us on that. But I'm going to be in touch with this afternoon in the conference. I've already made some initial contacts, and we're going to see what we can, in the interim, begin to set up. But it is there, but we need to work on it a little bit more, and we will definitely be doing some work on that. The ministry also sees people in the context of their relationships. In other words, as we said, there's so many different families. And as we now, as a church, have opened up and people start coming to our churches, we are going to see some people come in who are not in probably the situations we would normally see from a biblical point of view, the family situation. But we need to minister to all groups of people. And I hope you understand what I mean by that. We need to be there to minister to them and shed the light of God's kingdom and God's love and God's grace and God's power, which is able to transform and change people. We also talk about the strength existing relationships and how we need to build new relationships.
Everything.
Competence
Yeah.
in interpersonal skills. Did somebody have a question? Sorry. I thought I heard somebody, if you had a question, okay. And the most important thing is to minister God's grace. That is important, I believe, in ministering God's grace. That is the most important thing. Family ministries encourages families to live holistically. It helps individuals to build those strong relationships. It helps them to develop in their community, how we relate to our community, and it promotes understanding, it promotes acceptance. Most of all, it promotes love. One of the texts that we have put as fundamental in our family ministries department is 1 John 4:7-8. Beloved, let us love one another. That is the overarching thing to encompass all of our relationships. And I think the other thing family ministries does, part of the three angels' messages that we teach, isn't it to restore families? Yeah. And if you look in the text of Malachi chapter 4 and verses 5 and 6, and I'm going to read this to you, it says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." And verse 6 says, "And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse." Part of family ministries is that way of helping families to come back to God. It extends hope. It extends support to those who have been hindered and hurt, those who have been abused. We work closely. Part of my other remit is to do keeping the church family safe. And we haven't really got the time to go through that document here, but there is another session happening on the Sunday, the 6th of February, where we're going to spend some time on that. But we have to protect our children. We have to protect the vulnerable, both adults and young people, and be looking out for them. And protect them even from situations which can happen even in church. So it's helping in that area, and it's sorting out dysfunction. It's looking at broken relationships. It takes sometimes in brokenness, that's where God brings us healing. Family Ministries also fosters a competence in a variety of interpersonal skills needed in our relationships. It provides the growth opportunities through family life education, through enrichment. It encourages individuals, both as married couples, families, and themselves, through counseling to get restoration. And it's very important that we include all of that. We also look at the premarital side, for young couples. And if you need some help with that, we have some people who have been trained in that. We can do it, and other people can do it. A lot of ministers now, our ministers are already trained in that area. It's basically to work with families in different situations. We do parenting seminars, the special needs for single parents, all of these things. So it's a very wide area that we cover in that sense. Has anyone got anything they want to add, or anything they have found as they've been doing the ministry before?
I'm glad that you mentioned Pastor Francis special needs, because my youngest son is special needs. He has autism. We have 3 children in our family. He's nearly 20. He's nearly 21 now, our youngest, and we've often wondered whether that was inclusive of family ministries, because I'm one of the members of ASNA. I'm sure you know that. And oftentimes we go out in different retreats and different bits and pieces for that. But that is also inclusive as well of various different families, different movements, and everything else. So that's good to hear, because I know that there's a different session for that. Possibilities.
Yes.
The possibilities. We don't call it disabilities. We call it possibilities. But
Possibilities, yes. And and as you say, brother, as directors, we are trying to work very closely with each other. Dr. Beatrice Gastrati, who from the community services is looking after that, but we are in discussions, and we will look to see how we can partner in certain health, and she also does the health ministries. All of that is something we want to work on, and part of the plan also is to put resources on our websites as we get those updated, and we'll be looking to try and incorporate resources that will look at the possibility sides as well. So we've got to be inclusive of everybody, and I think that's what we are saying here. Also, Pastor Aki at the BUC, he covers that area as well. So we're going to be all working together as departments to try and ensure that everyone is catered for, because that is important, and so this is something we are looking at doing.
thank you.
Let's move on to the next slide. It says how to get family ministry started, and I think initially I remember when we very first came into the department, it can feel a little bit daunted, and I don't want anybody here who's coming into it for the first time to feel in any way daunted, because there is support out there. And I think one of the first things you really need to do is make sure you surround yourself with a good team. When we say a team, we talked about different families, and we talked about the different stages that people go through in their life. And so it's good if you can have on your team like somebody who's married, or somebody who's a single parent, or somebody perhaps who's widowed, different people from the church who can help represent those people within your church family that you have. So you're not going to be on your own. So as a team, you can come together to discuss some of the needs of the church. And I think the second thing you need to then do in the plan book, there is a lots of resources. One of them we're talking about today is a family life profile. And then that basically is a very useful tool that you can actually use. What that actually does is actually helps you to find out a little bit about your church, the number of people you've got within particular age brackets, whether or not they're active or they're inactive. Because obviously the idea is moving them from, if they are inactive, if the half of your church is inactive, the idea is to eventually, hopefully through prayer and through different programs, is to move them from the inactive stage into the active. But that's a profile, which is very useful tool. The next tool is a survey, family life survey. That's something we ourselves have actually used, and I found it to be extremely helpful. This is something where you actually talk to all the church. You literally are talking to the whole church. I think we did it, I'm not sure if we did it in the morning or in the family life in the afternoon program, but you literally, it's just a short thing you can actually use. Well, I can see a hand up, Mark. I'll just come to you in 2 minutes, So with this survey, it's something that you ask the church, you ask them to put their name, you ask them to write down what are some of their actual needs. And people can just be open and honest with you on that survey. They write down what some of their needs are, they write down how many children they have. And it's a really good resource, because once you've got that survey in, you can collate all the results. And from there, it can inform you as to where to start with your programming, or to start with meeting some of the needs. And we've found it extremely helpful. I think what's happening now is Pastor's just trying. So can I ask Mark? I saw the hand of Mark. Did you have a question?
Yeah,
Mark?
good morning both, Pastor and Francis. Looking at the kind of subgroups within the family life department, you mentioned you want widows, I mean, you want people like singles and married and so forth. I'm just conscious within the subgroup of singleness, there could be different aspects within that group as well.
Yeah.
See, you might have single because they were divorced,
Yeah.
single because somebody left them, single because they can't find anyone. So within that group of singleness, there are subgroups, and maybe because and their experiences, if my wife has left me, for example, it's a very different single feeling compared to somebody who's never married in the first place.
Yeah.
My experience is very, very good. I was married and now I'm single. So I'm thinking about how we try to maybe open the representation on that committee as well, because those experiences are very, very detailed and very, very specific to that individual person. That's all.
And that's why it's good for you to just invite, as you see fit, you invite. It doesn't have to be only 5 or only 3. You know, you can make that committee or that team as large as you need to make it. It all depends on your church. It's all about who you have in your church and the needs of your church. So as you see fit, you invite people in. Definitely.
Amen. Thank
And
you.
also, Mark, what you have to do is, that's why doing the survey, I was going to put the survey up a little bit to show you, and you can expand on this. When you've done your profile and your survey of the church, this is what brings those, identify those areas. And it's not about what we found over the years. It's not about doing everything in 1 year. It's about looking at the overall needs, assessing it, seeing where the priority needs are, working with the pastoral team as well to see how their overall vision is, and trying to incorporate things. Because if you just work on, say, I'm just doing family life, according to the official thing, is only twice a year, which is in the February, and well, it used to be October, it's now September. So there's a little bit more to family life than that, and that's what we want to try and draw out of this meeting. It's not just about doing a program. That's what we're saying. It's about trying to incorporate the ministry into the various areas and objectives of the overall church. Does that help a little bit? Hopefully?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I see, is it Alethea? You have your hand up?
Well, yes, morning. It's just to tell that we can't see the slides.
Can't you? Oh,
No, we've
dear.
just come off though.
We've just come off. Yes, we've just come off. Sorry. I've just come off them now. Did you see them before though, Alethea?
I think I saw a snippet of the last one.
Okay. All right. Yes.
just
So,
came
so
out of them, didn't you?
we will be going back to them in a minute. But yes, I just wanted to highlight what I wanted to try and do,
Get
if
the
we
survey.
can.
Yeah.
I'm going to see. Hopefully, this will work. Now, this is. We will send you all this. I will get these sent. But this is a church family interest survey.
Make it a slightly bigger.
Let's see if we can make it a bit bigger.
Is it the plus button? Yeah, can you see that?
Can
okay?
you see that okay now? That bit better?
So this is an example of one of the surveys. So you just click down. You can see it just what. Can you see that it's got all of those different things there? Parenting, retirement, self-esteem. So as a person receiving the survey in your church, what they do, they'll just highlight which one of those, which areas. They can pick more than one. If you want to limit it, because you might think to yourself, if we say just pick 5, so that you've just got 5 areas. So they'll pick the most important 5 things for them. They might say family finances. They might say midlife crisis. They might say understanding my teens because of where they're at in their particular life. So this is really useful. And as you go down, it's asking you then what time of day. So it's asking what time of day is best for you. So when you've got this survey, you can see that most people have said Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or whatever it was. They may say Sabbath afternoon, I don't know. And then it's got male, female, it's got your age bracket, and then it's asking you to list, are you single, married, separated, divorced, remarried, widowed? So you get an idea of your church and who's in your church and the and where to focus in on. And then is that, I think that's the end of that one.
Yeah, that's the end of that one. I mean,
Yeah.
there are others,
Come out of that
but
one.
let me just come out of this.
And then we can go back to the PowerPoint. So that's just giving you a
Right.
little look at the survey, which we will be giving you the survey. So does that, I'm hoping that's going to help.
I did see a few more hands, I think, before, maybe
think
not.
we're
Is everybody
okay.
felt we've been answered now?
Is that another hand up there?
Oh yes, Denise, sorry.
Hi, Pastor Adele. You may be going to come on to this, but I was just wondering what support was available to deliver the outcomes of the survey. So once you have your church members saying they want to know about substance abuse or whatever it is, menopause, whatever it is, how do we as lay people ensure that we have the skills or we can signpost them to then access those enrichment workshops, because we may not be skilled in those particular areas that they have an interest in?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Denise. I'm glad you asked that one. As a department, as a conference, and as a family ministries department, we do have access to a lot of resources on various issues in various areas. So we can mostly supply you with most things. If there's things we don't have, we can access it for you. We have set up an advisory team. We've only just had the first meeting because it's a brand new year, so we're just trying to get everything together. But one of the areas we are looking at is to look at people with various skills. For example, on our advisory team currently, we have someone who deals a lot with the mental health side, and we're various. What we're trying to do is build up all the different skill levels, because we have people within our churches, and we'll also signpost you. So your first point of call, contact me, if you've got some area you're not so familiar with. Let us see what we have, but we would ensure you will get the support. Either it's somebody to come and help you, or it's some materials that you can then use. But it's very important that you actually are not just doing the programs, as we say, but doing those things which the church is needing. And that is important. I hope that does help in that one, Denise. Yeah. I have, is it Abin Eccles?
Hi there, yeah, I think Denise answered quite a few of my questions. as well on that. It's quite important that we get the resource from you. We may not be specialists in certain areas. I'm an ordained elder, so I didn't jump on it right at the beginning, but I have been involved in various different family situations in the past. So it's quite interesting that you say that, because we don't always have, sorry, got frog in my throat. We don't always have the resources. But the other bit that I wanted to talk about, each and every one of us has suffered in one way, and are probably still suffering throughout this COVID crisis. And one of the things, just under 2 years ago, I decided to do, because going into families is kind of new for me, but I've always been involved in it in one way or another within various different other structures. But one of the most important things was to establish relationships. You know, we come to church, we say happy Sabbath, say how are you, and that's about it, and we disappear. The being in isolation and being on your own as a family and not being able to connect has driven me particularly to think of how we can connect more with our members and try to connect in a more meaningful way. And so over the past nearly 2 years, connecting by text messages and that, just on a bi-monthly basis, really, just wish them happy Sabbath, connecting, seeing how they are, wishing them well, lifting them up in this difficult time, giving them words of encouragement, sending them love messages. I have seen the benefits of that, and it's important to establish good relationships. It's one thing to say, well, we've got a program and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're going to run a survey. But if established relationships are not being put into place as a church, as members, and you can it's vitally important. You know, this is
sorry, Oben, I'm getting some background noise. If those who aren't speaking, if you could mute, I'm going to try and see who it is and try and see if you can mute the mics, please, because I'm getting some background noise now, so it's like a phone. Okay, Oben, yes, please carry on.
To say that, you know, in cases like this, that we try to connect with our brothers and sisters, whoever they are, wherever they are, so that we, when we come to reach out and say, look, we have this for you, that they're going to be more receptive to it. And I think perhaps you know where I'm coming from. If you've never connected with them before, establishing relationships is always very, very good to get that that initial conversation going, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, and I think that's good, and that's why I'm pleased you've highlighted that. And each church has to find its own ways of connecting. I know one of the churches I had, we did something during the lockdown just to connect with some of the shut-ins and get regular members to ring those people at certain times in the week. And it's just finding ways that you can. And part of family ministries really is all about doing that. That is one of the fundamental things. Hope the PowerPoint has come back on now. Hopefully you can see it again. We're going to try and see if we can. It's now frozen on me, but never mind. Okay, so the challenges facing families today, there are so many challenges. I'm not going to read out all these here, but there's obviously the financial challenges, that getting that work-life balance as well, because that's a big strain on families today. Sometimes people are working 24/7, no time for family, no time for worship, no time, all of these things. There's the abuse situation, drugs, anxiety, divorce, all of these things. COVID-19 has been a challenge. You know, I would have loved to say COVID-19 has brought all families closer together, but in some cases, I think COVID-19, when I'm talking with families, some are saying, well, look, because now my husband's there all the time, we're on top of each other, there are more stresses. So we need to find ways of getting that balance. And I think sometimes it's how we communicate, it's how we handle conflict, all of those things. But there are so many challenges that face families today.
Okay, so this slide is just talking about how we organize our family ministries. I'm not going to go through every single one. I'm just going to pick out a few of them here. But the second one there, it says coordinates family ministries plans with the overall church program. So in other words, when you're planning your family ministries programs, make sure that it's in line with your overall church plans, because you know, as a church, the pastor will meet with the board and will perhaps set out plans for the year, or sometimes some churches have 5-year plans. You know, it's good if you can make sure that your family life plans, where possible, can fit in with that overall plan. The third one there says identifies and promotes church and community resources. As you go through your family life you know, year, you will start collecting different things and different resources. It's good to keep them. It's good to make sure people are aware that they are there for them to perhaps access. One thing I will say in the way of resources, you will be getting, I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Can you see that?
Okay, so this little book, it's called Hope for Today's Families.
Yeah.
It's a little book I did purchase because we was hoping we'd have this as a live seminar. So what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be getting this posted out. I don't want to promise you it's going to come out this week, because I know I've been fully stressed at the office with all this training, but I will definitely get it sent out and as soon as possible. And it looks at some really good areas: marriage God's way. It looks at how to deal with stress, how to communicate grace. Parenting is in there, so it's a nice little book. It's a good to good. If you like this so much, I would encourage you to buy this and give to people in your community. One of the things I would like to also say, as Delavan was mentioning, on working with the other departments in the church, when we did our family ministries many years ago in one of our home churches, by working with the pastoral team, the eldership and all of the team departments, we was able to get a family life campaign, which was launched in August time. We invited a speaker in, looked at various issues, and we did that over 3 years. And one of the years, and this is how you need to think community, it's not just about what we do in church. How is our church impacting its communities? And that's one thing COVID needs to have taught us. We can no longer have church just for ourselves. Church has to be there to impact your community. And one of the things we did is we did a fun day on the Sunday at the end of the week. And we did this in a local park and got the community people around. So many people came. We had a prayer tent. We linked in with the health department, had some health resources. People was doing the exercises. People was doing the food tasting. There was books and resources. There was just so many things. There was a bounty castle, all different things on that day. But people came from the community and joined. And you need to just look at your particular setting and see. It may be you live in an area, for example, I'm just picking this out, just one example, an area where people have a lot of single parents. Now, wouldn't it be good to do something on parenting? Because single moms, single dads, they struggle. You know, that's something you can do for your community. So we need to think of various ways and work with the other departments in our church to enact these various objectives that we could achieve, and this will grow us. And I'm so pleased. I'm seeing now we've got 40 people on the training today. So you can, if each of you take a little bit of what we're sharing today and share it in your churches, oh, guess what? Some fantastic things I believe is going to happen right in our conference. And we are going to send some of these surveys and stuff out to you, but we want you to really gain. And I think the book, the other one, do you want to share your book of How
Yeah.
Plenty is Home? I think that's fantastic, this book.
This book
Wow.
is an excellent book. It's only recently, well, I'd say since COVID.
Stop the share.
Yeah, can do. Go on then. We'll
Let me stop the screen, because
we'll
is
stop
that
the
better
share and
now?
we'll
Can
come back
we?
in, 'cause I
Yeah,
think there was a hand I did see.
yeah, I did see
So
that. Can
basically,
you see this?
this Adventist home book, if you've never read it before, is an excellent resource. And I'll tell you what's happened. I know of a few churches who are using this with their churches. They're basically, the chapters are so short, very short. Literally, sometimes you've got literally 1 or 2 pages. But it's an absolutely excellent resource. I highly recommend it. And if you could say to your church, let's together read this book. This will strengthen your families. It covers every area. So if you can say to your families, we're all going to get the book, we're all going to read the book 1 chapter at a time and come together and share. And I'm just going to read you this. This is one of my favorite quotes out of the book. There's many short quotes, but this one quote, it says, home should be, this is on the page 15, home should be made all that the word implies. It should be a little heaven upon earth, a place where the affections are cultivated instead of being studiously repressed. Our happiness depends upon this cultivation of love, sympathy, and true courtesy to one another. The sweetest type of heaven is a home where the Spirit of the Lord presides. If the will of God is fulfilled, the husband and wife will respect each other and cultivate love and confidence. I love this quote because it's saying that, yes, we are heading for heaven. We are definitely heading for heaven. Make no doubt about it. But the thing is, we still have to live here in this world. We're passing through. Yes, we're passing through, but we still have to live here. And you know something, especially for those who've got children, it's not about children saying, can I go to this person's house, that person's house, and everybody else's house, because they can't stand being in their own. We need to make our homes an attractive place for our children, so that children will be saying to their friends, can you come to my house? Those children who aren't Adventists are going to be wanting to come to your house, because your house is a great house to be in. And so our houses can be houses where we are sharing God's love. And so I really encourage you, you will never regret this decision. Get your families to purchase the book, even if they can't put, in fact, they don't have to. I'm a person, I like to see things, but I like the book. But if they can't have the book physically, guess what? It's online. You can actually get it on your phone. So some people like things on their phone. So get this book and read 1 chapter at a time. It will transform your church. It will strengthen families who are struggling. It will strengthen them. I highly recommend it.
And yes, I do see a comment from Elder Hubert here. Yeah, it is Ellen G. White. Adventist home.
I think we did have a question as well. I think we should address that question as well before we go to
one
the
of the
next
ways we
slide.
have used it is we had a book, what we call a book review, and we used it during the lockdown. And one of our churches in the area used it as a sort of a book review every Sabbath afternoon, and we discussed the chapters together. There's various ways, but it's about getting it out there, because I believe sometimes the very things we have, we need to use those to build on things. Now we had some other questions.
I think there's a hand up. I can see a hand.
Is it Owen again, or is someone else have the? Maybe you need to lower your hand. Is anyone have a question?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, you, dear lady next to you. What's your name? I didn't.
My wife. The
Oh,
other
you're
one.
right. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I beg your pardon.
We did introduce ourselves at the beginning, but I know loads of people. We only had 17 now. We've got 41 now. So
Right.
Yeah, Pastor
Okay.
Francis, John and Delabon Francis. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No worries.
Your lovely wife was mentioning some very important things there. I'm a family, 3 children, and we've always believed in family worship. It's a vital important. It's critical in the Christian faith. It's the building blocks that allows, I'll put it this way, the activity of our members, inclusive in our churches, to be active. If they're not formally doing something in the home together as a family, then they're less likely to be proactive in our churches. And you know, I've seen the results of that in the past. But there's another point. I'm just coming off that. Sorry, it's because of what your dear wife mentioned. There was something mentioned about family. But you mentioned something about communities before, which is a different area. I'm currently involved in a council family, local council family organization. It's not my job.
Okay.
It's a completely different area. But because we did quite a bit of community work last year, we wanted to include the community. I'm still connected with the teachers, doctors, whatever from the local community that want to help families. So what they're planning to do is send out a newsletter every month. One of the agreements is that when we have any activities or anything like that, to obviously propagate that information to them so that they can then issue that information out to the communities in the area that need to hear this. Because one of the things that's quite important, we may know all different people, but there are certain organizations that have got a greater catchment area of the people that need to hear. All families need to hear, but there are a lot of families that are in need, in dire need. So I see what you said there a little bit earlier as being quite important to try and connect the two together so that we're not the churches. One of the things that is always said, that if your church was to burn down, would the community really be bothered?
Yes.
And it's always something that kind of stuck with me. So we have to make a difference wherever we are. And so what you've said has kind of driven me a little bit more forward now to ensure that we are engaging. I'm engaging with the particular group that I'm with to ensure that I can connect as a church what we're doing as a family department, family team, we call it, to be able to share resource and for them to share resource with us as well, which will also benefit. So at the moment, for example, you know, there are funds that we're doing in our area that can benefit families. So being able to share that with families in our church is another good way of being able to share things outside of the resources, perhaps that you guys yourself even have. So I think it's, if you can connect with family, with councils that are connected with families, I would definitely encourage that, because it really helps to get a greater picture of what's happening in your area.
And I think what you say there is so important, because I know one of the churches I'm just transitioning out of now as doing that already, and working. Once the council sees the church is engaged, they want to work with you, and they will have funds that does, you know, on small little projects you want to do, maybe fun days, whatever activities, they will look at supporting. A lot of the material we have, people ask about material, a lot of the material we have will be put on the website for the NEC, and we are also going to send some of what we've done here today out to as well. Hopefully the screen has come back. Good. Let's see if we can move it again. Now it's locked on. Right. Okay. So one of the areas of a family ministries is to create learning environments. These environments, like we've mentioned, the Adventist Home Biblical Foundations, they have to be based on biblical principles. They have to be based around the love of God. Relationships are to enhance and to strengthen families. Skills are practice. You know, learning. You yourselves will learn things as you're doing, both in maybe your preaching and your presentations. You will develop as you go along, using some of the material and learning. It's about getting everyone involved. So that's what we've said: whole church involvement, whole community involvement, And I like what some of you have shared here today, because that is reinforced a lot what we're saying. And people learn from each other. You know, you may, as a leaders, be involved with something, and then you may be in discussion with another leader from somewhere else, and you can share ideas. So it's about coming together. And one of the things we will try to do as a department is, maybe I'm hoping now everyone, because we did more must have registered since, I'm hoping everyone has come on this Zoom through registration, because we need your contact details. I know some did, but we need to check now, because we've got 42 of you. But I'm praying that all of you have come on. If not, you need to start sending us your emails if you haven't registered on the registered form. It will be a form you have to put your details. It should have done that, hopefully. So we will have your contact details. But our plan is to perhaps call some meetings sometimes when we've had a few months in, we can all come together and maybe share some things we've done in our churches. And then from those ideas, we're going to grow. Does that sound like a good idea? Because as a family, it's only by supporting each other that we're going to accomplish the task which is ahead. And we want you to be equipped, but we also we learn a lot of things from what's worked and what hasn't worked. And that's when you start to share. So that's part of the things we as a department want to try and help facilitate.
And this next style says learning styles, and this is a very important slide, because when you are producing your programs to your churches, it's important to have an awareness of everyone doesn't learn in the same way. I know for me personally, I'm a visual person, so you can talk to me about something, and unless I've got it in front of me written down, it isn't going to go in. I don't learn well just by hearing something. I've got to see it. And so when you think about your programs, you need to make sure that there's a variety of styles. If you always conduct your programs in exactly the same sort of way, so if you always have PowerPoints, always, and you don't do anything else, some people are going to be missing out. And that's why sometimes you can have a variety of different things. So sometimes in your programs, it's really a nice idea to have your PowerPoints. I think they're very important because it's a visual, isn't it? Sometimes have something musical playing. Sometimes I think it's a lovely idea to have some sort of drama skits, and they're very good idea to and also plus you're getting more people involved. And I think sometimes you've got to break people off into small groups for them to discuss, because some people learn best when they're in they've got a task to do in a group where they can bounce ideas off each other. So just be aware that when you're planning your programs, you've got a variety of different sorts of ways of interacting with people.
Right, now, in becoming a family ministries leader, one of the things you need to understand is you don't have to be an expert. And I know, I think somebody just mentioned that, and Denise asked a question earlier on. We may not know everything, but we can always find out somebody who does have that expert knowledge, and they can help. So it's about facilitating. It's not about you doing everything. It's about facilitating. Be honest, be authentic. We all have our own different experience. We all come from different situations, different walks of life. And I believe our journey can actually be a means of encouraging someone else. I remember when I was doing my theology at Newbold, and there was a book called The Wounded Healer, and it talked about some of the pain, some of the challenges we go through in life, but those can be a testimony to encourage someone maybe in a similar situation, or something's happened. So each of us has a story to tell. Just be yourself. It's not about trying to be someone else. Be yourself. That's what we say in there. Accommodate different learning styles, as Delavon has touched on, and let's understand everybody learns differently, and try and bring some variety into those presentations. Be open, be open-minded. Sometimes we can have our set ideals, but it's about learning, isn't it? And accepting that not everyone's going to be the same. And sometimes we can also agree to differ as well. And that's okay. That is okay. Allow the freedom to stay silent. There's sometimes in situations we don't need to say anything. We just need to know when to stop and allow to reflect on whatever it is. Don't put people down or criticize ideas. Focus on the positive. Take advantage of collective wisdom. Sometimes there is much wisdom in not just one or two people deciding, but working with a team and hearing that voice. And, you know, when you vote something, we go along with the majority. We know how it works in church. That is the best way to go. There's wisdom in that, in having discussions first collectively. Be respectful of others. Listen without interrupting. Oh, I like that, the ear. Be confidential. There are many things as a family life department. I remember when I was both an elder and a family life leader at one point, and members would come with some very challenging situations. There's one or two you may have to refer to counsel or whatever, but keeping confidence, you know, if it is really sad, you know, because I think church, I've always believed church should be a place where people feel safe. And oftentimes I know that is an area where people have not felt. I've oftentimes said, well, if I talk to this person, it's going to be spread all over. That's not what it's about. It's about, one of the things when people come to us, they come to you in confidence. The only time we would share some things, and we will always say to somebody who's going to share something private with us, if the situation you are sharing is which is going to cause self-harm, or you know, there's going to be some child abuse or something of that nature, that's the only time. But we will let them know we will have to share that. You know, if a young person comes, you know, and there's a situation, we have to follow those steps. But outside of those things, we need to have that confidentiality. That's going to be very important. I can see a couple of people have come up in the chat, and I don't know if that's, yeah, something's come up there. Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
So this says learn from programs that work. This here is just an example. The marriage course, we actually conducted a marriage course some time ago, and it worked well. And this is number one, food. If people know they're going to come to your program and there's going to be some sort of nibbles, they're very happy to come. We all love food, don't we? And so that's a good draw. So have some food provided. Let people know that there's going to be some light refreshments. It's always a very good thing to include where possible.
Yeah, I'd like to say all this was pre-COVID, but we're just showing you this just to show you something. I'm going to say something else, but let's go for it.
Yeah, so this was a marriage course. Obviously, this is specific to this, but get couples to talk to them by themselves. So if you are going to do anything that is of a sensitive nature, make sure people are spread, not too nearby. Make sure there's a little bit of background music so that people will be allowed to speak about things that are personal to them without anybody else overhearing. Respect the privacy. I think that was touched on before. And it's always a good idea if you're having any sort of, you know, like 6-week program or whatever it is, make sure it's very practical, not just about people listening, but people getting involved in a practical sense. Childcare is always an issue. I think when we did the marriage course, I think there was an opportunity where we were able to get, so if you've got a church, you can have your, whatever your session is in the main body of the church, and you may be able to, if possible, get people who are perhaps running this, you know, the children's Sabbath school, to take the children into a separate room away from the church, not in the same area, because then children would want to run to the parents. But if you can get them in a separate room where they've got some toys, they've got some different activities, they're doing some painting, or they're playing with some sports equipment, and that's an ideal thing. So then the parents can know that the children are provided for, and they're actually getting fed as well with whatever the program might be. And follow up those who've missed a session. Always good to keep that contact with people. So they may have had to miss it for whatever reason, but try to contact them, try to inform them, you know, summarize what they've missed, give them the material that they've missed, but let them know that obviously that they on what they've missed out on. Okay.
Right, so we're going to start to come into some important tools that you can use, methods for evangelism. And we mentioned some of them already. I mentioned, you know, maybe you might have a lot of single parents or whatever, but parenting classes are good generally anyway. The marriage enrichment programs, which look at the marriage course or family, couples, relationships. 13th Sabbath programs, you can work with the children's department and be seeing how we can. And then, of course, we don't use this, I've not heard this term used as much recently, but the VBS programs, Vacation Bible School, this is something sometimes in the summer months we can do. Now, with all the COVID restrictions, we've got to do these things sensitively, but those kind of things are all outdoor things you can do. Athletic events, singles events, Christmas carols, nativity plays, community projects, church socials, the list goes on. There are so many things we can do. And I'd like to probably just take a little bit of time now just to share something with you, because part of the strategy of the NEC at the moment is to do, see if I can bring this up. It was up there. Yes, hopefully it will work. It should work. Let's have a look. Okay, I will see if I can now share it with you.
Yeah.
Let's hope this works. Okay. Can everyone see that now? Yeah? Is that coming up?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I think it is very, very important that we are community-based in everything that we do. Part of the mission statement is to make disciples of Christ who live as his love witness, to proclaim all people the everlasting gospel, to call people to the free angels messages. And that's our mission. That's our overall mission, but how we accomplish that mission, we accomplish that mission through the ministries, don't we, of our church. So it may be that part of your mission as family ministries will be to reach certain people of the community, and you will be reaching them through parenting or whatever ways you're reaching them. That will be also fulfilling the mission. Now, the conference, these yet have to be rolled out, but this is what we, as a conference, we all met as directors together, and we all came up with what is the values that we have. Our values as a conference is to look at the diversity of the Christian community. We are passionate about unity, passionate about openness. We're passionate about healing, not just within the church, but within our communities. We strive for spiritual growth and excellence as we innovatively share the gospel. And we want to do that in the most effective ways. And part of our strategic plans of mission, a big part of our plan, is developing resources to meet the current needs of our church now. Because of lockdown, even though a lot of our churches are going back, a lot are still on Zoom, we are looking at more online resources. Now, we're going to be sharing something we're going to be doing as a family life department later on, but all our departments are going to be looking at developing things. That's why our website will be updated, that you can literally download resources, and that can be used for church, it can be used for community. Anyone can come on and see what the church is doing. So we're going to work around mission. And all of these areas here listed here, I'm going to send you this out. We'll be looking at how we can support programs and work together. How as a leadership team communicate, develop a strategy of foster a culture of openness and accountability in everything that we do as officers, as leaders, workers. And of course, the other area I think is key is spiritual growth. And from a family life point of view, part of that spiritual growth will be looking at things like the Adventist home, looking at our way of worship. You know, I love the brother who was mentioning, Brother Eccles, about family worship. You know, family worship is something which I'm sad to say is not happening enough in our homes. And when you talk to families, people say, well, it's because of my work situation. We need to find some time. If we don't, you know, part of our relationship, if we don't strengthen that connection with God, all the other aspects of our relationship, both our physical and emotional, got to fall apart. It centers around having that connection with God. And if we can, the best thing we can do with our families, I will say this right now, everyone, brothers and sisters, the best thing we can do is to commit them to Christ in prayer. And we need to find ways. I don't know even if couples always take time to even worship together. Do we worship with us? You know, because all of this is important in our growth, and that's part of the vision. And we will actually share this vision with you. It will be sent out. Well, after this seminar, I've got them all ready to sort of send to you. So we will send them to you as a department. Right, let me now see if I did see a question. I did see something. Oh, it's gone now. The chat's gone. I didn't know if any of you had a questions. Okay, is that okay? So what we will do, let me see if we can now pick this back up again, if we can. Okay, so you should be able to see the slides. Yeah, hopefully it's come back on now. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just move on now then. Advertising your event. I'm sure you really don't need me to tell you. But be clear when you're advertising. What are you offering? Who's invited? When will the event be held? Where will the event be held? Why will people benefit? That is key, that last one. Why will people benefit? And I think as well, it's interesting when we were advertising for events and the day came up the day before, and would you believe we'd advertised, we'd put it in the bulletins, it was advertised from the front every week. People would say, oh, I didn't realize. And so sometimes when you think you've overdone it, you've never overdone it, because there's always somebody who will say, I didn't realize. So we've got the Facebooks, we've got the Twitters, you've got the WhatsApp groups. Like I said, I'm a visual person. So I used to literally put posters around the church. So as you went into the ladies' toilets and washing your hands, it would be a poster right there. You know, put them everywhere. You know, if it's a community event, you can obviously go around the shops and ask if you can put them in the shop windows. And if you want to, we even advertised on the local radio. If it's a bigger event, you can advertise on the local radio. So, you know, think of every opportunity you can to get the message out there when you're advertising your events.
Yeah, and I think as Delavan said, that number 5, it's just staring at me right now. Why will people benefit? It's not about doing a program, it's about doing a ministry, a benefit. And that you'll only know what people are going to benefit from if you know what their needs are. So if we've not done any surveys, if we've not taken time to, it's not about putting on a program which we want as a church and hope the community will come and enjoy it. It's about what are some of the needs of the community. The only way we're going to know the needs is if we engage to find out where they're at. And it's the same with our church. The only way we're going to know if we take time. So that is a crucial question we need to ask in everything that we do, because this is about ministry. This is not just about a program. And that's the important thing. And that's what's going to make the impact. And that's what's going to change how we do things. So I hope this message is kind of coming across and people are thinking about that and be thinking about it. Now we're going to share something with you now, which I think is very, very important. And this is every year the GC publicizes a handbook. And that handbook is designed to give you resources that you can use with family ministries. Now, it used to be a book, we used to physically have them, you may remember it, with a DVD inside. This time everything's online, so it's downloadable. There is a website, you know, I'm going to have to put up my other thing to give you the website, but you can, because I
You're going to be
noticed,
sending that.
yeah, I'm going to be sending you this out. There is actually information leaflet about our department. It should have been on our website now, but because we're updating it, I don't think it's all got up there, but the next few weeks it will be uploaded. But in the interim, I will send you the link. You go on the Adventist.org and you can download it there. And this is the plan book that you guys can use to do some of your various programs and use some of the resources that you want. Now, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and see if we can bring this up for you. Let's have a look if we can get this. How many people have had a plan book before? And those of you who've done it before, you probably remember some of this, but I'm going to see if we can get this up so you can see it. Let's have a look. Right, okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Hopefully everyone can see this now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do, Delavan's going to help, we're going to sort of go through with you what's in this book.
You know something, when you're going through this, you just need some time. Don't try and go through this if you've only got 10 minutes. It's a meaty document, but basically you just need time to just read through all of the different sections. It's all sectioned out. In fact, if we just go to that, actually, we're just going to go down and go to the contents page. But it's a very useful document. There we are. Table of contents. So basically, you've got, what have you got there? 4?
Yeah.
There's 4 sermons, and I think the thing to mention with these resources, it's there for you to use, so you can adapt it to suit yourself. So you've got a base you can work from. So even with the sermons, you can take the sermon and you can add to it, you can take away, but you've got something to start with. You could use these for when you've got your high days, as it were. You could use some of these sermons to give to your speakers, and then they can adapt them. So you've got a section on sermons.
Children's stories.
Yeah, we've got the different seminars. And then you've got the leadership resources. Reprinted articles. And the thing I will say at this point, every year there's a brand new resource book, but they still have available all the past resource books. So you're more than welcome to go back onto the site and then go back into the archives and actually go back to some of these old resources. And when I say they're old, they're actually very useful information. It's just a time you would need to go back into search for what you'd like. So they've got some reprinted articles, and then some other resources there. They have, like I said, on this site, they have, you can come back out of that. Yes, and then they've got the appendices they've actually got the evaluation forms, they've got the surveys in there, they've got the profiles, but we have actually got some we can send you. But you're welcome to go in there and to collect all of those resources, which are very, very good. So if we can come back out of that, we can just go to this, we can stay here for a while.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say to you then, so they've got the PowerPoints, they've got leadership resources, I said, they've got even children's stories. Don't need to go into that. And there's a lot for you there. I think you wanted to just mention about the NEC, what we're going to be doing this year, the family ministries.
Now, we're going to be doing something for you, because I've already had a couple of people ring me already last week saying, Pastor, what's going to happen with the first Family Life official week by the GC, which begins from the 12th through to the 19th of February. And as just coming into the department, I realized this could have been a bit of a strain for some of you. So what we are going to do is we have actually planned an event which will look at family resilience, and we're going to start it from the Sunday, the 13th, right through to the Sabbath, the 19th. Now, this event is going to be hosted from Manchester South Church. It will be broadcast live from the church, and they will open up the YouTube so all your churches can come into it. And it's going to look at various things from parenting to singleness to marriage, looking at the fact that, you know, families have been in lockdown. There have been tremendous stresses. How can we minister to those needs at this moment in time? And we want to make this very personal as well. You know, as I begin the session on the 13th, we're going to bring some other speakers in as well as myself. Different people will be coming. We've also got the GC people, Willie and Elaine Oliver. Praise God, they're coming on the Monday, and they're going to share from the States their vision. But also what we are going to do each evening, we're going to have a question and answer time. So where you can help us now as leaders, there may be questions people have on whatever it is. And we want you to try and let the churches know about this now. So when we come to that session, we can start dealing with some of those questions, not because we're going to be able to deal with every question in that week, but we will still throughout the year and throughout the 3 years be looking at that and ministering to those needs. And we hope your churches can link in, because it's on YouTube. I guess you'll be able to see it some other time. It's nice if you can be live there, because then those things will be done live, and each speaker will be able to answer those questions, and we'll be able to have some discussion and also some prayer time. I see Sister Gloria has a question, so please go ahead and ask.
Pastor, will there be a poster sent out for us to advertise to our churches?
Yes. Unfortunately, we had the poster literally almost done. There was just one speaker we needed to add and a couple of tweaks. As we speak, a member of our Family Life team is actually finishing that now. So I'm hoping to have that by the end of today. And we will start to, hopefully early next week, get all that out. We'll email it to all of you anyway, so you'll have it to start promoting. In addition to that, it's just because of health situations, we are hoping to do a special recording, myself and Delevon, just to introduce the week, that we will also send that out as well for everyone. But we really want people to be involved. It's about families coming together. It's about us trying to connect with each other. And I thought, rather than just be at 2 churches for the 2 Sabbaths, we can connect with everybody at one time. And that will be a good time to start. And hopefully it will assist you as you begin your programs and various activities. And so that's something that we have planned. Does anyone have any other questions as we begin to move on? We're going to go to the breakout room soon.
And also we just need to mention that, so that's happening in February.
That's February, yeah.
And then in, what's the date for the family camp?
Okay, family camp is also happening from the 22nd through to the 31st of July. That's in Aberdaron. We'll be hopefully launching the bookings for that sometime towards the end of March. And again, a poster is being done for that. That is our family camp. So that is really going to be good, where all young people can come together. It's good for the children to come out, for the families to come out and spend some time together. We're going to be out in nature together. We're going to have a good spiritual time. Pastor Rashford Hewitt will be our padre. So, you know, we're going to have a really exciting time. With the theme is looking at light. And the dates are from the 22nd of July to the 31st of July. And again, we are going to email you, because it's not on our website now, I'm going to email you this overview with some of these dates in. The other date we have is the marriage weekend. Family camp, yes. If you type it in the chat, then yeah, to
What
everybody.
date
So
was
it's
it?
the 20. It's Friday the 22nd of July to Sunday the 31st of July. That is the family camp, and we're typing it in the chat as well.
22nd of July.
31st of July. Yeah. So we are sending that out, and also we're planning a couple's time together. We're using the same venue we use for a conference session, a few of the other sessions. It's the Jury's Inkley in Watling Street in Inkley. We are planning this time again. That falls within the second week we have, which is the focus on the family togetherness week. That happens that week in September. And it ends on the 11th of September. So we're using that last weekend, the 9th to the 11th. It starts on the 4th, but it ends on the 11th. We're using the 9th to the 11th to have our marriage weekend, and we hope couples will come.
Can I just read this question? So the question here says,
Right.
Pastor, do we have any funds to buy some books for families as we visit them?
Right. Well, I hope, my brother, you're asking about your local church, because your local church hopefully should give you some funding. I am afraid to say, because of financial restraints of the conference, even my own budget I put in for was very heavily slashed, along with a lot of others. However, we're going to use what little funds we have as wisely as we can. And we're also going to look to do some fundraising as a department as well. So we will see how things go. What I have done, I have bought that initial book for you, all of you, which we'll give. We're giving you this, which is Hope for Today's Families. That's part of our resource, our gift to you. But your local church should give you some sort of budget. And again, through the other ministries of the church, particularly if it's outreach, the personal ministries, I know sometimes that's how we did a lot of things, and we also fundraised, and that will help in sort of getting resource together. And certainly, I will have a chat with Stamford Press, and if there's any way they can do some sort of package for family life leaders, you never know. It's a conversation, but we have to be all fundraising as we go along in these times as well. I can see quite a few questions. Yvonne?
Yes, yes. What I was just going to share is that's what we actually do through our church. Is that through the other departments, personal ministries, evangelism, that we purchase these books and we actually distribute them to the community, as well as to families within the church.
Good, and that is an effective way. Thank you, Sister Yvonne. Sorry, someone else?
No, I'm just saying thank you for helping me, because we used to visit the families, and one of the things, we do have fund from the local church, but I was just exploring if there is additional funds available. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, and we will be looking at resources as well. We are going to be developing things. So as the term goes on, we will see what we can put together. We may be able to get something corporately which will help in the cost of that, and it's in our interest and everybody's interest to make this available to everybody. So if anything is there, keep in touch with us, brother, because we'll continue to work with you on helping you to get the best available for the needs of our areas, conference and church situations. Definitely.
So we're going to go into the. So what we'd like to, in fact, if we can go back to the. Before we go into what we wanted to do now is before we go on with we're towards the end, actually, we are towards the end of our presentation, but we have a little bit of time. We're doing very well for time. We want to give you a good, I'd say 30 minutes. I think it should be
15, I would say 15, 20 minutes, yes, if that. Yeah.
15, if you say 20 minutes. So if we want to give you 20 minutes, and we're going to put you all into breakout rooms. And what we'd like you to do, as you come into the room, we want you to discuss you know, you could just share if you're new to the role or if you've been in family ministries before. If you have been in family ministries before, if you can please share some of your successes, if you can share what some of your challenges were, just have a little discussion about, you know, even if you feel that hopefully you won't all be new. If you are all new, perhaps you can discuss how you might move forward. And then we'll come back together again afterwards. So we're going to give you 20 minutes in your breakout rooms. At the end of the 20 minutes, you will come back to the main.
To this session.
Yeah.
It's working out roughly. Oh, I see. You mentioned breakdown rooms. The numbers have just dropped. It was 40. There's now 39. Okay. But what we will do, the idea is for you to come back. Maybe we'll give you at least 15 minutes, definitely, for some discussion, and then we'll come back and we'll come and share. You can come and share what you've discussed, and there's about 8 rooms altogether, so there should be enough to get everyone. So let's see if we can create this now. Yep. If you could, then we stop the recording for this moment, and then we'll come back. So just go, not that, yeah, just go that once. Okay, we're back on.
Yeah, so good to have you all back. I hope you found that a useful exercise, actually meeting in a smaller room and discussing together. What we're going to do now, we're going to spend about 15 or so minutes just feeding back. So if we could have, we can't have everybody. I don't think it's going to be.
But maybe one person from each group.
Yeah, we won't be able to have everybody.
I presume one of you, what tends to happen in these groups, when you go in, somebody normally takes charge. That's what normally happens. I'm hoping that's happened. So whoever that person is, or whoever you volunteered, if you could just share a little bit, just
what some of your,
you know, how you found it, some of the highlights.
I'll just repeat what I was asking you to do. I was asking you to share some of your successes for those who have actually been doing family ministries before. I was asking you to share some of your successes, and then also to share some of your challenges. So if we can just have perhaps one success from your group and one challenge, if you could just share with us, that'd be brilliant.
Hello, my name's Brenda Kasha.
Brenda.
Hi, we're from Warsaw Church, and I've got my husband here with me, but he's also in the men's ministries training, so he's sort of in and out. Yeah, so we just shared a little bit of our what we found as some of our successes. This is our 3rd time doing family life. We weren't in family life in the last 2 years during the lockdown, but for the the 2 runs before that is when we were in family life. And what we found successful was the engagement with the married couples. So a lot of work was done with the married couples, but we did find that we struggled, or we didn't meet very well, I think, the needs for the single parents and young people, which is what we recognized, and we wanted to do more of that this time around. That as well as the mental health side of things. We recognize how much that affects family life, and then we also wanted to look at widows. That's something that we think we didn't do so well last time around, and we wanted to do more. So we were just sharing that with our colleagues in our breakout room.
Brilliant. Thank you.
We've got some pointers.
Yeah, so you had some pointers. So already, I think you've been able to achieve something which we was trying to say. Sometimes by coming together with other leaders, you know, we can learn from each other, and that's what we want to do, is to create some of those opportunities that we could, you know, have time to come and share, because we all, you know, our ministries will then start to grow, and we can learn And sometimes when somebody's done something, even with the trial and errors, it's not because everything you do is going to run perfectly. There's many things I know I can think back we've done. We may not have gone so well. We had all these plans, but we've learned from it, and it helps you. And it isn't about making something perfect. It's about making a start and growing from that. That's what's important. So thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing with us on that, and we do appreciate that. Do we have someone else who could share?
Yes, Pastor, good morning. I came from Hallucinate SDA Church in Birmingham. I'm Delia Taodjo. I can just share one of our activities in our church. I was assistant family leader, me and my husband before, but now they chose me to become the leader with my 2 assistants. In our group, we just discussed some of our activities, but I just want to share to you the sports fest that we are doing.
Sorry, sports fest.
Yeah,
Okay,
as a
wow.
family leader, before we book at least 3 sports fests in a year. And then in this includes all the ages of our church members who are available, of course. And we do different sports by the adult, children, youth, and also we don't spend for food because we tend to have potlucks.
Okay.
So that's safe for and we ask for a donation for token or the gift or the who can donate, and if not, then we ask for a little fund from the church, and that can be a whole day or a half day. It's an activity of the church, and every family we encourage to be involved, and it's a very nice and very fulfilling activities and binding together as a family and as a church.
Right. So on these sports days, then I presume you have all different types of sports. Do you have
we have
place you go?
Yes, we have basketball, we have badminton, and for the little children, we just prepare something that they can play. For the little children, of course, they cannot do the. So we just want to see that everyone is involved. And of course, the elderly, sometimes they just happy to watch, that they are enjoying.
Yeah.
But
So do you hire a place? Do you hire like a leisure center or something, or do you do this in a field? Where do you do the sports? Where do you?
We just rent, sir. I pastor for the gym.
Okay.
Because, we inform the gym ahead of time that we will rent the gym for the whole day, because we are close to one of the gym here in Birmingham that is available. But it happened actually before COVID. Now that is COVID, it's changed. But they just continues, Pastor, now as like basketball activity at the moment. But hopefully one day we can go back to that one. It's a very nice experience. It's a very nice experience as a church.
Thank you so much, Sister Dale. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful thing to share. I've not heard that one before. So that, you see, we've already picked something up from there. So I really appreciate you taking time to share that with us. Does anyone have any other things they'd like to share?
And my name's Wendy, and I'm from Tamworth Church. To put my picture on.
Right, Wendy, I'm trying to find you now.
Oh yeah. So I was just sharing some of the things that we've done in the past at Tamworth Church and how we want to move forward. So we try and make sure that all the departments like the men's ministry, women's ministry, children's ministry come together under the auspice of family ministry and get leaders within those different areas to move forward. So I was saying that prior to COVID and things like that, we would have like the men would, we'd have a Women's Day where the men would serve the women, and that was a way of bringing us together. And then when it was Men's Day, the women would honour the men and say something nice and things like that to them. We've also done things like mug and muffin evenings where everybody comes and we have a mug and some hot chocolate or herbal teas. and it gives everybody the time to be able to relax and see people in an informal way. So I was trying to feedback that we need to start thinking outside of the box, because sometimes we're a little bit too closed in what we do. One of the projects I've done in the past is I've run a women's group in a local pub, and we've had an area in a pub where they've given us a little area for us to utilize. We had dinner there, but it was interesting that people who were in the pub would come over and say, can my lady come to your group, because it sounds really interesting, and they would keep the noise down while we were presenting and things like that. So that was another way of taking things into the community.
Yes.
What I'm going to be doing this year is I'm going to call my family ministries Blast, and that stands for building
Blast,
which is going to stand for building lives around sound truth. And
building lives
around sound truth. So what we're looking at doing is, I've already got a portfolio of what we're going to do, but we've broken down the needs of everybody within the church, and then we're going to lump those programs together and deliver that through family ministries. And I've also found that doing things like reading a book together has helped us bring things together. At one point, we were getting more people at prayer meeting through reading a book than we did by normal prayer meeting. And we read a book together, and we'd read it for, like, say 6 to 7 weeks. Then we would fast the following week and then break the fast together, which was good. And we gave everybody a box where they could put something in that box that reminded them as to how their prayer life had developed. And we did prayer journals, and that was a way of bringing the church together. And so at the moment we're doing Steps to Christ. So what we do is we do things where everybody has a way of interjecting in the program, but can dip into what they need to do. So that's what we do. And we also camp a lot together. We walk a lot and camp a lot together.
Excellent. And you will find, you know, because you're doing so much together, do you find that as a family church, because of all these activities, do you find that when someone's hurting, there's always someone there to support? So no one ever feels alone, do they? That they're battling with an issue on their own.
Yeah, and it is about coming together. And because we're small, we can probably do a lot more than some of the larger churches, but you can find that people will just pop into your houses, you know, knock at the door, I've come for a drink, or things like that, because our relationships within the church are so different that we're still able to go to each other's homes and feel at home there. So we do a lot of quizzes, and because of COVID, obviously we've had a lot of things where we've done quizzes online, and when we have a break, it's like, everybody go and get your snack now. We come back and go, well, what have you got? And I might have a piece of cake, and they'll go, Wendy, and then somebody else has got, but it's just about sharing and bringing things together. But I would say, as a group, think outside the box. We're too rigid and formal sometimes, and sometimes people within a family unit, you're not formal in your family. So why do we need to be formal in everything we do in family ministries? Do things outside, have some fun. We've had times where the men have taken us shopping, the women shopping, you know, think outside the box, it brings you together.
Thank you so much, Sister Wendy. I really appreciate you sharing this, and you've really been an example of what we want to accomplish in terms of outreach, and so thank you so much for sharing that. We will just take one more, because I'm conscious of the time. I'm sure many of you have got so many things to share, but we will create some other opportunities throughout the year when we can do this. But please, one more person feels there's something really valuable which would really benefit us all now to hear, you'd like to share.
Hi, John. We were talking in our group that we have, so it's Mark Palmer.
I'm trying to find you on the screen now. So
you'll find me on the screen, because I'm on the screen, but my camera's off of the work at the moment at the same time.
One of those, Mark, is it? Okay.
No, I'm working at the same time, so I'm just going to catch up with what's going on. So what we're saying now, okay, I'll try and put my screen on from where I am. I'll kind of move it around somewhere. Got me now? Here I am.
Yeah.
So
good to see you. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm kind of working at the same time, so I'm trying to catch on and work at the same time. But what it is, we're talking about, none of us there being family life leaders, but there's some people there with experience of family life. And one of the members mentioned about how they had a sexual awareness. I think if I'm right, if I'm incorrect, correct somebody. Awareness sessions, mainly for our young people, and make sure that they knew about sex at a taboo area. But what we added to that is that we want to maybe venture into some taboo issues that as family don't talk about. So sexual relationship between adults, as in married couples in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s, because that can be a disharmonizing area when things go pear-shaped in the family life, that the relationship between a man and woman in their 20s or 30s of marriage, it goes pear-shaped. And it brings the whole family down because mom and dad aren't together as they should be in physicality. So that's an area we're looking at. And then the other area we want to probably look at the time is gender issues. So when your child comes home from school and says to you, I want to be Susan, not Peter anymore, how do you cope with that within the four walls of your family? And when your partner, when your husband or wife says, end of the day, at age 40 or 50, I want to be Michael rather than Mary, how do you cope with that? And that area is something we're looking at more because it's now becoming more prevalent in our society. And that means at some stage, it'll also become prevalent in our churches. It'll seep in churches. I think in one church in America had a cross-dressing elder, I believe, one church in America, one of our own churches. So this area will come into us. Our young people are in schools and environments where this is something that hit them every day. And they're surrounded with this. They're going to bring it into our own homes. One, how does mom and dad prepare themselves for this? And how does the church prepare? Because once it hits the family, it'll hit the church. And it's becoming a major activity or a major player in society today, especially as a church, when you can get decried or fined, or in some cases imprisoned for becoming somewhat homophobic in your behavior or in your statements. So it's something that as families we have to wrestle with sooner than later, because we see it in our work, we're working workplace, we see it on a regular, look at gender issues and gender changes, body dysmorphia, or there's something, but we need to handle that sooner than later. I'm preparing people for that.
No, thank you very much for that, Mark, because to be honest with you, I've already been approached by one minister, one of our churches just last year, with someone coming from the community who wanted to join the church. And what we are looking to do, because the law has been passed, we need to stay within the law, but at the same time, we can still uphold our faith, but we need to still show love and respect. It's not about rejecting people, but it's about bringing people to an understanding of God's ideal, and then also helping people to be accepted for wherever they are. But at the same time, you know, there may be sometimes differences and things, and understanding those differences. And what we want to do is set up a working group to look at some of these issues as well. I've already been in discussions, so I may even contact you as well on that, because we have to get our statements correct whenever we and stay within the law, at the same time maintain the principle which God has called us to, and that is it.
Well, there's a pastor in America a few years ago, a female pastor. Her two boys became homosexuals. Now, up to that point, she was very much against homosexuality, but she has now gone over with her boys and made a change. Now, as a minister, what is the impact on four walls, but in the wider community and in the church itself? So we've been quite clear that what we do in our own four walls can cause ripples to go further afield and change even communities, and change church thinking and so forth. So it's area I think we need to probably handle if we get a chance.
I also would like to point out, because Mark, you brought this up as well, I think is really important. I would also like to point out that we haven't covered it in this session, probably because we've just given a general overview, but there is something came out a few years ago. It's a very good document. It's a book, resource material, which looks at how we can teach our sexuality in a healthy Christian perspective from a biblical point of view. And it looks at it from all the ages, from the younger ages going up. Now, what I'm going to try and do, and you'll have to give us a little time on this, but I'm going to try as we develop our website to maybe get that into some sections that we can put out there as a resource. But also, please contact us if you would like some help and support. And there is some really good material I've come across, which I was working with Karen Holford on the TED on this just the back end of last year, called Married Sex from a Christian Point of View. And it does some really good lectures. We're trying to get them in a way downloaded that we can use them within our marriage weekends and training and various things. But I think it's an area, just because the world has a way of doing stuff, that's promoting things, we need, as a church, to put across the sexuality from God's point of view. And if we spent more time doing that, maybe our young people would have a better understanding and having those open discussions, not as an because our sexuality is a wonderful gift which God has given us. It's not something to, be shy of or be fearful of. But it's having the right understanding. Because of sin, our minds have been warped, but God still has a message to get to us, and we need to find more effective ways. So this is something we will be working with, and please, if you want to do things, please contact us, because we will want you to have this material and beginning to grow together, and that is how things are going to change. It's only as we work together that positive things are going to happen. So I do thank you, Mark, for bringing that up.
We've just got a hand up as well.
We've got a hand up, so let me see if we can remove. Okay,
Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
We had a brother Eccles, I think, yeah?
Yeah, can I just say, just
yes.
adding to that, it's of paramount importance for the NEC as well as all of the other groups out there, that we get this information out to our churches, and for all of us as leaders to lead out on this. You know, one of the biggest problems that we can find is that the devil has a way of breaking down our church communities. And it's important that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So the sooner we have the same resources, the sooner we can make sure we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. I have no problems with it. As you said, I stand firm, Pastor Francis, on what you said about that. They are God's children. It doesn't matter their persuasion, whatever it is that they may be leaning to. They are God's children, and we should love them, cherish them, and support them in every way we can. We come to the point, of course, as you said, when it comes against our very faith, then that's something else. And, you know, we all as individuals are going to have to stand firm by what we believe. But the problem that I do find, and I've seen it myself, that there is, even within the church, a very sharp discrimination against various different persuasions. And because of that, it causes fractions in the. So I really encourage you and your teams to, you know, as soon as this information gets out, that it can be given to us to be able to support our churches, you know, forearm them, so that we're able to give all the right messages in line with the government, and obviously in line with our belief as well. It's important. You know, I work with all various different people from various different backgrounds, various different sexual persuasions. You know, I love them all, I cherish them all, and I don't have any problems working with any of them at all. But it's important that as a church, you know, we clearly have a defined understanding of what we believe in regards to this, and how we tackle this, as Mark mentioned earlier. How do we tackle these kind of situations, and how do we deal with it? You know, how do we manage it? How do we support it? The material and the resources there to support people that are struggling with this situation? How do we deal with it? And we may not be particularly the right people for it at this moment in time, perhaps because we don't have the material. But once we have the guidance from yourself and the information, then we're able to tackle it in the right and proper way. So that's my piece on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Robin. I appreciate that. And I think George had his hands up, and that will be the last comment now for now, and then we'll move on. Yeah, so George.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor.
Oh, can we
Sorry.
see you, George? I can hear you. I can't see you.
Yeah. At our place, we were discussing about the challenges facing parents and the case of different background. What we saw was that there has been challenges facing parents concerning what they are taught, their kids are taught at school, and that of the teaching them also at home. We see that most of the kids were born over here. Some also were brought into this country at an early stage, and normally they spend most of their time at school, and there are many things which are taught to them, which are different from what their cultural background tells them.
Yeah.
So the kids are sometimes confused as to which one to follow, you know. And we discussed into a point that normally when this thing happens, first of all, we have to be praying to the Almighty God, because there's nothing which can change a person without the intervention of the Almighty God. And then secondly, by teaching the kids also, we have to be very friendly with them, because sometimes when they go to school, the teachers are more friendly with them. So when they come home and we don't have time for them to be friendly, then they will tend to move to where they are friendly with, you know. So we thought it that what we have to consider as family ministry is that we could engage them, especially in a specific day called family cultural day or something of that nature, so that the kids and the parents could be combined together for the kids to ask questions which are baffling them, and then the parents or the pastors and all those who are around who have the experience to also answer, so that it will keep them stable as to which culture they have to face or follow. You know, so this exactly what we were discussing. There are much more, but since time is not on our side, this is a summary of what
Thank you.
we are going to put across. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. I think that's a very valid point that you have raised there, and we need to think about that and see how we can begin through discussions to interact with everybody. I know we have a few more hands, but I think what we're going to do, we will. Oh, I thought somebody raised. Okay, all right. Okay, but maybe that's what it was. So, what we will do, we will now try and resume back if I can. It should still be there. Let's see if we can just pick that up. We will go back to just finish this last section off, and then we can have a little bit of a more discussion as we go along. Hopefully that's come back up now. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Okay, so yeah, just to finish then, so these are the other resource books that you can go back into. It's basically at that link there, you can just go back in and access all of the material.
So that link, family.adventist.org/resources/resource-book/ that will take you to the various resources we have, and you can access that and the 2022 link. But we will send you that on the sheet we're going to send out as well after the session.
And just something quickly before I move to the next slide. The next slide, I think it was, when we've done the share, the next slide was the question and answer time. But just something that was mentioned when you was in your breakout room, we had a little discussion as well where we were. And it's just regarding the surveys, that when we did the surveys, if you can find somebody in your church to actually organize it in such a way that it fits on a little slip like this, because you could get 4, if you notice on the
Can you
sheet.
guys see this? Shall I
Yeah,
just
it's on
stop?
this-
Oh, you can see. You
yeah.
can see what I'm sharing, yeah?
So it's just a case of, there was information on both sides of that little slip. It could be done by somebody who's computer savvy. It just means you can get 4 surveys out of 1 sheet. And I think when you're doing the surveys in your church, it'll be useful to, because it doesn't take long to fill in, it'll be useful to say even the week before, to say next week we'll be giving you the surveys, perhaps have a copy of the survey on the notice board so people can just become familiar with the format of the survey. And one of the worst things to do with a survey, trust me, we've been there, is to let it go home. So what I'm saying to you is, if you can even use your 10-minute spot, if you use your deacons to hand out the surveys, and because people have been familiarized with it the week before, and it's been on the notice board, or it can even be WhatsApped out, they can see what they need to fill in. It literally takes 5 minutes. It's just a case of a tick box. Apart from writing in your name, you just circle your age bracket, you circle your status, you tick 5 areas that you're interested in, and you then get people to put it into the bulletin. I mean, not into the bulletin, put it into the
offering plate.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Put it into the offering plate so you get them straight back. Because if it goes home, the tendency is they've forgotten it, they've lost it, then you have to give them another sheet. But it's really well worthwhile doing that. So we're going to open up to anybody now for questions on anything that we've discussed with you thus far. Question, queries, anything you want clarifying in a little bit more detail.
Sorry, John. So good morning again. Sorry, just quickly, where do we source the survey from? They just showed on the screen.
Right.
Missed that.
Okay. The actual survey, there is one in the 2022 plan book, and I am also going to email you some ones that we have.
Brilliant.
After this session. So I'm assuming everybody has come through registration process where you'd have had to put your name, your email, your church. And so long as you've done that, you will get that email. Immediately after this session, I have them all ready to send. So I will send all those resources out to you.
Thank you.
If any of you have not, for some reason, been able to get in, it shouldn't have let you in, but if you have been able to get in, because I think the first poster only had the Zoom details, so if it's not picked up your registration, it would be good now if you send us a direct message with your email address and contact details, because then you would miss out on that, because you will get, there is a survey in the plan book, but I have a more detailed one, which I showed earlier on, which I have put those in specifically for you guys, because I feel that will help you as you're going to do it in your local churches, yeah? So that's important. Does that help you there, Mark?
Yes, it does. Thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I mean, I can share something with you if you haven't, but has anybody got any other questions?
Can I just ask? Hi, it's. Can I just ask? It's about. I think earlier on you mentioned briefly about keeping the church family safe. Some training, safeguarding. Could you just elaborate on that? Because I think it's really important.
It is vital. Yeah. The keeping the church family safe will be run in a couple of weeks' time. It will be on this first Sunday in February, the 6th of February. And it's going to be from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We have to do a longer session, I'm afraid, with that, because we have to do some exercises with you on not only on the new policy, but to help reinforce your understanding of that policy. We'll be doing some scenarios, because it's about safeguarding, it's about being alert. It's also about understanding new legislation. We have actually spent a bit of time, Pastor Aki, along with the British Union and the officers, we've all come together and revised the policy. The current book you would have seen on the BUC website is old. We have a new one, which is redesigned December 21. Now, because you've come on this course, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you all a copy of that policy as well with the emails.
Brilliant.
But in reality, you do need to have some training on it, because we do need to go through it and have a little bit more. So I would encourage as many of you to come on that. We're going to, it did say there was a slight error on the plan, because we didn't know we'd have our conference Zooms up and running. So we was going to use our personal. This is now conference Zoom. So we have opened this up. It does say on the year planner, area 1, but just ignore that, because some posters are going to go out. It's now for the whole conference, that training. And then what we are looking to do, we will look with the area coordinators of each of the ministers who are assigned to the various areas of our church. We will be speaking with them individually as COVID permits. That's all I can say. And we will be coming around to 1 or 2 larger churches doing some other training as well. So that won't be the only training, but it will be the main training to begin with. And we're also having a session later down in February to train some leaders who want to deliver training, like for the pathfinders and various things. So that will be a separate thing. But this is the general training for everyone. And we thought it would be good to do it on Zoom, because we can then get everybody at one time. But that doesn't mean we're not going to have individual sessions, because it's a new policy and it just needs a bit of time, particularly with online. There's a lot of things we need to go through. So we're going to take some time, and that's why we wasn't able to do it in the officers training, because that does need some time on its own. So, but all of you will get the policy. Just because you've been at the course today, I will email that out to you, so you can have a look through. So when you come to the training, you'll at least have some ideas of what's happening. Unfortunately, this policy has only just been approved this last week. We submitted it in December. There were some few things they wanted to address. It went back in January. It's now got officially approved, so we can now send it out. Pastor Aki did send me that last night.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah, Pastor Francis, what date you said again? Sorry.
It is. Can we type it into the WhatsApp? It is Sunday, the 6th of February.
Okay.
And it's going to be from 10 till 3 o'clock. So we will have a little break, a 15-20 minute break for people to break off, because it's a lot of sessions, but we will be doing that then. Somebody is working on a poster for me as we speak now. So again, I'm hoping that will be sent out in the next week. So that
and
will
do
be
I
advertised.
Bring my safeguarding officer as well? We have a safeguarding officer.
Yes, it will be sent out. It will be sent out to all the officers, elders, people. So it needs to be promoted. So it'd be very good. We need the safeguarding people there. Anyone working with children. I mean, all elders really need to attend that, because you've got to be, in contact. It's very, very important. And it's important we have some proper discussion on this. And that's why I didn't want to take this session to do that, because it would have just taken up the whole session, to be honest with you, and it wouldn't have been as profitable. So that is definitely coming. I see somebody has given us out their email, which is good.
And John, can I start with you? Is there a separate training for the safeguarding officers themselves? Is there a separate one, like in school? You have the DSB
Yes.
school, level 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Is there a separate one?
Yeah. That training really is for the safeguarding officers, which we're doing on Sunday, and anyone like yourselves in family life who works with children. But we will also have a session called Train the Trainer, which will be advertised to all the pathfinders are taking it. Some of them want to be able to deliver the safeguarding training. So we are going to do that session as well. And Pastor Aki is coming in to help with that. That's going to be later down in the year, 27th of February. But that's also going out as well as a separate thing. But this one is for all the safeguarding officers or people who work with children. So most of your family ministries team, because you're in family ministries, you need to be aware. You really do need to come to this training, because ultimately we have to protect our vulnerable people, our young people, and there is so much happens. So keeping the church family safe is going to be, it's for all of you really to attend. So we encourage it. But as I said, we will do area training as well, subject to COVID permitting. Some of it will be on Zoom, some of it will be physical, but we'll select certain churches in the areas and ask people to come together for that. Kathy, I see your hand.
I needed to find out whether we'll be able to access today's recording.
Right, we are actually recording at the moment. So what we're going to try and do, it takes a little time to download, and we're going to try and get that onto, I will get that onto my personal YouTube. And then what we will do is we can send you that link out as well. Okay. So that may not happen today, it may happen a couple of days time, because it takes a bit, because it's so long, it takes a little time to download and everything, but you will get that. And that will be made available at some point when our technicians can work on that, hopefully on our website for anyone to access as needed.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's another hand I can see there. From, is it Kathy or was that?
I think that was Kathy.
Was that Kathy? I thought there was another.
Okay.
Finish?
So, right, let us, while perhaps some of you are thinking to ask some questions, let us, I'd like to share probably this with you. I'm just going to try and bring up. Okay. Let me see if we can. Right, I'm going to just try and see if we can share this now. This is one of the documents that we, it was put on our website.
I can see it.
Right, I was trying to make it a little bit bigger, but there's something. Can you see that a bit bigger now? Is that, yeah, that's come out. So basically, how the site will be, it'll have a little section about the department, and it's fulfilling this part of the conference theme, worldwide theme, I will go. Looking at the diversity of families, training, equipping, enriching marriages. We have the objectives, which will, as I said, is based around 1 John 4, 7 and 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God. Our main objective is to provide resources, training, networking opportunities to instill hope, bring wholeness to families throughout our entire conference. There's a list of our roles and objectives, which will be listed there. There's the helpful links. So the first section will have, this is the link here in orange, which will be your link to get the plan book we've just shared with you. So this is going to be all sent out to you. So this is what you're going to have there, and all of your resources there for this current year are there. We also have the safeguarding policies and procedures, which we will send you that link, because we haven't got the link on there yet. It will be developed later. We will actually send you the document. So we will send you the current document, as I said, December 21. The dates for your diary, some of those we've gone, they will be all on there. And then we've also put some helpful links. This one particularly is very good. It's got some guides to families coming out of COVID, survival guides for the across the range. So please click on these links here. These are going to be really good. We've put some resources there, quite a few things there. We've also put some helpful numbers on to do with the safeguarding of various things. We put child lines number there, the NSPCC numbers on there, you know, the counseling lines are on there. So quite a few very important numbers, and also some videos. So things we feel will benefit you. Ted Wilson, our world president, did a good thing on family togetherness. We've put that link on there, and some various things dealing with various issues, whether it be with problems or just general family life. all of that is on there. So this is going to be a very, very useful sheet. And I'm hoping all of this will be on our website at some point. We've even put something on the mental health as well there on there as well. So we're going to continue to add to those things. We also advertise in our Family Together Christian Home and Marriage Week, which we said we are doing something on YouTube throughout the week at Manchester South, and then the Family Togetherness Week, and all of these resources are going to be on there. So that is something that we will actually email out, so you will get that. I'm just seeing a message in the thing here. Okay, that's the language of books, yeah. So what we are trying to do is make sure that you have resources, and those resources will continue to be added. Now, I know one of our sisters shared what she was doing in her particular church, and she used the word blast, which is building life around sound truth. Now, there may be some events that you guys have that you will do for your programs, and it will be good to create something which we can share some of these ideas and different things, and we want to continue to build. So the idea of the Family Ministries website will be to build on resources we have, and also resources maybe you develop. And one of the greatest resources will come is, because this is going to be recorded, this event we're doing in February, this will become a resource that you will be able to have and use. It won't just be for that event, because we don't want things just to be event-based. We want things to be ministry-based. And that is really the idea behind the whole program. Now, I do appreciate, I see our numbers we've gone down to 37 now, but we've still got a reasonable number of people here. So I just want to ask, is there anyone who wants to ask something, share a thought? I'm also conscious we've got one of my elders and good friends, Elder Hubert, as well online, and you're welcome to share, because I know both him and his wife do a lot of family ministries, and it's important that we come together. So, is there any other questions, Elder Hubert? Would you like to?
I did put one on the message on the chat.
Okay.
Which for me, I don't know for others, but for me, one of the things that I have is when people ask me questions in terms of why they're not coming to church, they'll rephrase that. That's not a problem. Their challenge is they're walking away from God, and then they walk away from church. So they don't walk away from church, they walk away from God first. And what I find is that when we're dialoguing, they said, well, there isn't a Bible answer for this. And because there isn't a Bible answer, if you want, their faith is undermined because there isn't scripture or a way of them understanding it biblically. And so because that isn't there for them, they tend to then begin to slide away. And I think that one of the things that maybe we ought to be looking at more is giving that or making that available. Say, look, this is a biblical reason for us taking this particular stance. And for that to be seen in such a way that, A, they go, I didn't realize that, I didn't understand it to be that. And it's something that they then can share with somebody else, because that's the challenge that the young people that I interact with, that's their challenge, is that they can't share it with their friends, because when they share it, their friends basically rubbish it and undermine it because it's not strong enough. And that's one of the areas that I hope, not just for family ministries, but for all areas of our church, that we have more robust biblical understanding that we can share with others so that they can share it with somebody else. Because often there's a sermon and they can't share that sermon because some of the things that we said, it's not shareable. But that's one of the things I'm finding, is that for children to be able to share that with their friends, with their teachers, which is one of the things that's happening in our church, where we have the children who come back to church and say they went to church and shared what they heard, and they brought their friends to church because they shared what they learned. And I think that's one of the ways that maybe we're missing in giving something that people can share with somebody else, even if they're not a believer.
Thank you, Elder Hubert. I think that's a very good point, because part of the strategic focus for the NEC, when it talks about that spiritual growth, the word is used deepening their biblical literacy, understanding why we believe what we believe and having that discussion. And I think behind this idea is an idea that we do spend, as you say, more time now discussing these things and having real discussions. And I think with young people, it goes back to what we said earlier on about the authenticity. Sometimes a lot of reasons why people also give up on faith is they say, well, where is the real examples there? You know, I've not really seen it. I've heard it, but, you know, it doesn't mean anything to me. And I think that's also an area. But I agree with what you say. You know, we need to probably focus in a little more on having those discussions, and maybe that's where faith will grow, because I've always believed that when people leave church, they don't just leave. Something's happened with their relationship with God, because if your relationship is right, you're going to hold on. But it's about how do you develop that and how do you get a reason for being. And unfortunately, no one can give you that. That has to happen, but it's not going to happen if you don't create the right space and, you know, create that environment. So I think that is very important what you're saying there. And I think it's something we certainly do need to work on realistically. And I think it's a valuable thing. And I think as departments, we need to be, we'll be thinking about this as we go along and how we can, you know, make things a little bit more accessible and clearer and lay those foundations, build those pillars, as it were. That's what we definitely would like to do. As any other thoughts?
I think, John, you made a very good point. You made a point that even though individuals have to answer for themselves to a degree and explain for themselves, you made a point at the beginning that we're still our brother's keeper. And if you read through the story of the thief on the cross in Desire of Ages, what Ellen White says there, the thief on the cross, before he became a thief, walked away from the church because of how they were treating Christ. So he saw the church's example on Jesus Christ and walked from the church. And she writes quite clearly in Desire of Ages about this fact that how we need to be aware of how we conduct ourselves as a product that could influence somebody else. Equally so, if we live right, we can pull people to Christ as well. So we can be conduits, bring people one way or the other. And therefore, I think you and your wife's role in this family life is, I have to commend you both for this morning, by the way, already. I think it's been brilliant, inspiring. And also the fact that what we're saying, we are influential on each other in some shape or form. And if I can make sure that my life with Christ is close, maybe it might be a conduit to help my family stay close to Christ and somebody else come close to Christ. So I appreciate what you're saying this morning.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Any other?
Yes, I've just have a question on the family togetherness week, those dates there. Because last year at Breath of Life, we did have this event the whole week and people seem to enjoy it over online. But now I realize that you said the couples weekend is on the, is it the Sabbath when this event is concluding? Then it will mean that those couples who are engaged, because I do have a lot of young couples who were involved in this program, come Sabbath, then I will have to, I don't know, have to ask them to attend the couples weekends. So, and as well as the leaders who are leading that event, which means we would not be able to attend the couples event to conclude the togetherness week.
Okay, yes. So you want about the one in September, aren't you, sister? Yes, yes. I do hear what you're saying. One of the reasons why we particularly picked that was as a kind of a time to celebrate couples as well. But what we also need to bear in mind is that even though we have the week in February and the week in September, that it cannot only be the time that as a family life department we do things. And many times we, I remember when we did our ministry ourselves, myself and Delabon, as lay people back then, because we wasn't in ministry at that stage, there was oftentimes we had our weeks and they wasn't necessarily in those particular weeks, if you know what I'm saying. So you as a church have to set what your needs are. Just because they are those particular events given doesn't mean, because we're not then event driven, we are mission driven or ministry driven. It may be, because I remember once doing a week in August time, and that worked better for families because the kids was off school than it would have done in, say, September, October, and November. So you see, you have to, that's where you have to think about flexibility. So you must, please do not, and that's what the greatest fear I have, and I used to have when I had my churches as well, is that we get events driven and everybody's scrabbling for these dates. So it's community services day, it's family life day. That's not what it's about. It's about looking at the overall mission and then trying to bring it all together. So I would encourage you to be thinking, as you see, but I do thank you for your point, but I just think that be something it may be worth thinking about as we are sort of planning together in that sense, yeah. Any other points?
Yeah, just wanted to add to what Hubert and Mark was talking about a little bit earlier. Let me put my picture up. Yeah, very concerned, and it is very concerning in the world in which we live that we need to be very mission driven and concerned about young people. I have 3 young people, 3 adults, 21, 23, and 26. So they're all adults in their own right. And we have to be intentional, whether each member of the church or whether leaders, in being true missionaries and doing the in-reach before we can do the outreach. Sometimes there's very poor in-reach, which then when we want to do outreach, it doesn't work. There's nothing there because the in-reach, the seed hasn't flourished, or there hasn't been any. So I'm a gardener, so I do a lot of sowing seeds. And I know if I don't sow those seeds, nothing's going to grow. If I don't water it and nurture it, nothing's going to happen. I have 3 children in my home. If my wife and I are not regular in family worship, in being intentional in who we believe and what we believe, and not just that, turning that into a practical application that they can understand, which then, as said earlier, people will say, look, I'm a young child here, I've seen something, I've heard something, and I want to share it with someone that can come in and experience what I experienced. And until we do that, it doesn't matter how much outreach we do. If the in-reach is not being done, there will be nothing in the outreach. There'll be no fruit to gain. Because, brothers and sisters, we're all here and we're all working by God's grace to God's soon return. And there is a work to be done in the mission field. But each and every one of us, TMI is for each and every one of us. And we need to do it. And if we're not intentional about it, if we cannot put that at the first and foremost of our intentions in whatever program we put together, then it won't happen. It will not happen. With the guidance, of course, of the power of the Holy Spirit driving us forward. And you know, when we do that, people around us will see, well, you know, there's something different about this person. Not only they're talking it, but they're living it and they're acting upon it. And I want to be part of that. And I want to join that. And I want to connect with that. But children are not stupid. our young people are not foolish. They see these things and they come out with the big H. Each and every one of you know what I mean. You are just this big H, and they cannot take it any further forward because they see that the lives we live do not testify what we believe. Brothers and sisters, if anything has taught me anything, is that life is short.
Yes.
Life is short, but the young are old. People are dying. People are going to Christless graves. You're starting on this campaign of preaching now, my brother. But let me tell you this: we need to be intentional in what we do, and to allow the power of the Holy Spirit to drive us as leaders, as elders, as pastors, to do what God has called us to do, so that our children, the families, they will see something that they want to take hold of and share it with people around them. You know, we can do it. We really can, but we need to be intentional about it. So, Brother Herbert, Brother Mark, I hear you, and I agree with you, and I see that if we're not careful, we're already losing a lot of our youth. They have no desire to want to come back. They're not being connected with. They don't feel that they're a part of anything. And if we don't connect with them, if we don't listen to them, if we don't engage with them, they're going to leave and they're going to find somewhere else to go. So it's of vital importance. Sorry, I'm getting off my...
No. I do appreciate. I'm sorry to have to sort of wind up, but I do want to thank you, but because what you've said, I think the message has been heard. I think it is very, very important. It will fit into what I'm just going to share now, which I feel one of the glue that is going to bring us together through the working of the Holy Spirit is the power of prayer. And I am a great believer. There's nothing I can do. I have my failings, like every one of us have our failings, but it's what the Almighty God can do when we surrender to Him. And our encouragement to you as a department is to surrender your life fully to the Lord. God takes our brokenness and makes something special out of that. And one of the things I really believe as a department and as leaders, that you are about now to begin a journey. You are beginning a journey. And I want to say God is going to do so much. Family ministries touches every aspect of our church, and sometimes that's what's missed. And that's the message we've been trying to get across this morning. It's got to come through the youth, through the personal ministries, for all of your departments. It's got to touch in some way, become the catalyst to facilitate something wonderful which is going to happen. What our young people need to see is authenticity. We need to be real. Even when we make mistakes, we need to share and be real and show how God has worked through us and learned from us, and learn to say sorry sometimes, learn to say, yes, even our children, sometimes we may not have done it always right, but God is now showing us this is the way we need to go. And they will respect that, and we will grow together from that. So, yes.
And I just think as well, I think as family life leaders, I know some churches have done it in their churches. I know we've done it when we were family life leaders in our church. If you can systematically write down every single member, every single family within your church, and spend every Sabbath, I know you have your divine hour prayer, but you can actually use that time, whether it's that time or Sabbath school time, but actually pray for each family. So as a department, that is something you can actually implement. Quite simply, just getting a list of all the church members, and anyone who's not on there, just write their names on there and systematically every Sabbath pray for that family. What some people like to do is actually bring the family up to the front of church. Obviously, this is COVID dependent, but you know, whatever, however you do it, but pray for them. And I think as well is to, when you're doing your programs, is to make sure that the families understand the importance of praying in their homes, because families have been, you know, through this lockdown, there's been a lot of families under a lot of strain. A lot of families have cracked under the strain of COVID and other pressures. And so this is a time more than ever before that as a family unit, you need to pray, you know, husbands, wives, you may be, you know, just maybe you and your children, but it doesn't matter who you are in your homes, pray over your families, because even children in schools are having to face so much in schools, and also, you know, with peer pressure and all the rest of it. We need to pray over your children before you leave the home. Don't let your children leave your home. For those who have got families, don't let your children leave your house before you've prayed over them, because we're living in serious times. So prayer more than ever before has to be an agenda with, I think, with all of you. Please make it a really high priority, and stress it with your families to pray together. Pray together as a family, pray together as a family ministries team over your churches, most definitely. And then if we go to our last slide, I'm just going to read this because I think this is crucial. It says, the more people learn about and experience God's love, the more people will understand and learn how to have healthy relationships and love others. So what we're saying there is, as individual family life leaders, you need to take time with the Lord for yourself. You know, however busy your life might be, take some time out for prayer, take some time out to read your Bible daily. And as you do that, and as you experience God's love, you will be able to share that. It will be infectious, and other people will be able to, because you think, the thing is, Satan is out there. Trust we know Satan's out there, and he will find every way he can to cause disunity, to cause distraction. And so when we can focus on God and his word and on his mission, we will be able to move forward despite whatever Satan might try to put in our path to take us off our mission. But we just need to keep focused on our Lord, and we can only do that if we've got that, take that time out to have that relationship with him. And then the last paragraph there says, we are God's tools to help his people experience and share more of his love. So it says that we don't do it alone, he is with us. And so let's really remember that, you know, God wants us to be using his service, you know, to be his mouthpiece, to be his hands, to be his eyes and hands and ears. And if we dedicate ourselves to his service, he will do mighty things in our churches. So let's just commit ourselves to him at this time.
Amen.
John and Sister Francis, can I therefore ask a question then, if it's possible? I think the end slides where I kind of touch a nerve in me in a sense, really. You're saying everything comes by prayer, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Just suggestion, just a thought. Could we maybe have a day where you've done the NEC presentation this morning, a day where we can say Monday, 12 o'clock, we will pray at the same time for the department, for yourselves, or some idea that we can galvanize ourselves at the beginning of our work as family life leaders. Just a thought, a day of time, a couple of hours, might say 12 till 2, pray
Really
between
good,
these times.
really good,
Just a thought, just a thought.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Mark. Yeah. What we also was wanting to do, obviously this is our first meeting, but what we want to be able to do is, I'm not saying it's going to be once a month, but perhaps sometime in March, if we can all come together again as leaders. So obviously we can put this in place so we can all pray together at a regular time, and we can perhaps get that sent out.
Well, I think what Mark's suggesting, you would like to do something now, if maybe all of us could.
Well, set a time. No,
maybe for this Tuesday, they come in.
We could do, yeah.
We all have a prayer. If we can say between 12 and 1 that most of us have lunchtime about that time, we could just spend some time praying. We're going to have a prayer to end today now, but we just for all of us here, for us as a department as well, we need your prayers. There's so many things we're sorting out at the moment in the office, so many things to do. And it is overwhelming, but by God's grace, he is able.
Mm.
And I really believe that. So yeah, we really do need your prayers in that. I'm going to just, before we end the video now, I'm just going to just say goodbye to those who will be watching this online. And I just want to say, I pray it's not by might nor by power, but by God's Spirit. Partner with him and he will help you achieve everything. I pray this presentation has been a blessing to you and that you will use the resources to be sent and use it to further his kingdom, not only in this department, but in your various ministries for God, because it is God's work ultimately. God bless you.